Welcome to Collaboration Conversations. I'm your host, Regina Partain-Bergman. And once again, I have an amazing co host and group of panelists joining me today for our show. And so I want to not waste any time and get right to introducing my co host. My co host is Kyan Frith. Now, you may notice a few things about Kyan when he begins to speak to you. I'll let you figure out what the mystery is there. Kyan is the co-founder of KV Impact Consulting. And I'm going to let him tell you more about what that means. So welcome to the show, Kyan. Glad to have you here as our co-host today.
Thank you so much, Regina. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you today and co-hosting with you.
Please tell us about your journey, who you serve and why.
The little secret then is obviously I'm an Englishman. I'm living here in the wonderful city of San Antonio, Texas, with my amazing wife, Victoria. We co-founded KV Impact as a boutique professional services firm to help business owners realize their dreams. We do that through bookkeeping, CFO services, training, and some governance work. We love working with any business leaders, and we just have a massive heart for helping businesses, being part of community, and the underlying aim is to, as being a man of faith, is just give God all the glory in everything that we do. So that's where we come from. That's what we do. Today, I am joined by some incredible guys. They're looking pretty forlorn right this moment, but we're going to try and put a smile on their face as we introduce them. Hey, Cody, good of you to join us, my friend. Fantastic. So I'm going to introduce you, first of all, to the incredible Greg. Now, I was introduced to Greg last year, and I have to say we had some extremely fun conversations from the get-go. Greg has an absolutely fascinating background. He's an operations guru with a very strong background in lean methodology. And when you start to talk to Greg, you hear that pretty quickly. In a massive career change, he took on a spray net franchise in San Antonio in June 2022, and it's been on, if it's fair to say, Greg, a fairly steep learning curve. And he has an absolute quest for excellence in all areas of the business, and it's clear that he's on target for a phenomenal year this year. So, Greg, welcome.
Thank you very much, Kia.
Do you want to let Greg speak?
Yes,
a little bit
Greg,
as well now. Is that all right?
We'd like to hear from each of you as you're introduced. We'd like to hear a bit about your journey, who you serve, and why.
Well, my journey's been a real interesting one. I am a San Antonio kid, born and raised. Grew up on the northeast side of town. Graduate of Texas A&M University, and then got right back to San Antonio as fast as I could. My wife Jody and I have been married for 31 years. Have two sons, 28 and 24. Both of them live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and have started, pretty successful, careers for themselves. One works as a salesperson in the industrial supply space, and my youngest son is actually an ER nurse in Fort Worth. My journey, and I want to echo something that Kyan said, just because I love the fact that people will witness like that. I am a man of faith, and I believe that God puts you exactly where he wants you, when he wants you. And sometimes you don't understand it. Might not be where you want to be, but he does put you where he wants you, when he wants you there for a reason, and surround yourself with the people that can keep you on the path that he's chosen for you. So who do I serve? I want to serve my community. I always serve my God. I will always serve my family. And now I'm trying to build a business that will now serve my clients. So my journey's been pretty interesting from a professional standpoint. A lot of manufacturing and supply chain and operations work throughout several different companies for about 20 plus years. And then just due to circumstance and things, I found myself on the opposite side of a reduction in force in July of 2019. Found myself unemployed for the first time since I was 15 years old. Got into consulting after that for a couple of years, which was fine, but I was never home. The boys were already gone, and my wife didn't enjoy the time she was spending with our dogs 3 weeks a month, and then me for whenever I could get home. So, we had a good conversation about, what are we going to do next? Because the consulting thing wasn't really working for me, being gone so much. So we had two choices. We could go down the corporate route again, or I presented her with the option of, what do we think about maybe getting into the entrepreneurship? I was very focused on the franchise route. I had brought it up to her before. It was kind of a no dice. You're not doing this. And then now this time she kind of looked at me and said, you've had this itch for a long time. We're in a position to, why don't we scratch it? So we did. And so I bought SprayNet. I bought my SprayNet franchise in June of 2022. And Kyan was kind, and there's steep learning curves, and then there's riding along the edge, looking over the edge of the mountain, thinking, when do I fall off? So far, so good. Haven't fallen off, but am enjoying the ride. Am enjoying the learning. And really, hopeful to see what the future holds, and see if I can continue to make this a success.
Fantastic. I think we can all relate to that riding along the edge at one point or another.
Every once in a while a wheel falls off and you think, oh, we're going over now, but so far so good.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Greg. Thank you so much.
Certainly.
Now, when we were talking about going over the edge, there was one person who wasn't nodding quite so much, but I'm going to introduce you to Jacob. Now, what you're going to learn with Jacob is he's very organized. And I can imagine that Jacob maybe doesn't experience maybe some of the things that the rest of us do because he's so methodical. I met Jacob fairly recently. We had an approach to business that just resonated. He is very careful, very meticulous. And a conversation with Jacob is just so engaging. He's a great character to have a conversation with. And he's an awesome resource who has a willingness to help clients in effective financial planning. He has a massive heart for being really helpful and collaborative with his clients, which I think just distinguishes him from other financial planners that are out there. He is part of a family business, which was established by his father, and he's joined in it by his brother. And that kind of family dynamic is something that I absolutely love. I love family businesses, especially where the family business is successful. So Jacob, welcome. And I'll hand it over to you to introduce a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the kind words, Kyan. I'm happy to be here, Regina. Thank you for hosting. So I'm Jacob Warren. I'm the co-owner of Financial Planning HQ. I was born and raised here in San Antonio. Went to John Marshall High School, then went to UTSA. So I've been here. I love San Antonio. A lot of my friends were quick to get out of here, go to Austin or wherever else. But it's like, well, I tend to love it here. So, Financial Planning HQ. We're an RIA, which is a registered investment advisor. And basically, what that means is that we're not affiliated with a big insurance company or investment firm. We do our own thing, really. And I specialize in working with small business owners. Is my favorite to work with, but also just families and people looking to get their financial house in order. So what I do for my clients is get their investment management, risk management, estate planning, and tax planning, all of that in coordination, working together towards getting everything where it should be. And when I saw that this was all about collaboration, I thought that was really cool because that's something that I'm a huge advocate for, because in my world, when I meet people, they almost always have these different people that touch their financial life, right? Like they have a CPA, estate planning attorney, insurance agent, like Cody, but most times they don't really communicate with each other. So I'll use the example of the CPAs. Like if you can imagine your CPA and your financial advisor are collaborating together to give you advice, that quality of advice is a lot higher and more strategic and better for you. So that's a huge value add for my clients. Is I want to make sure everyone that touches your financial life is on the same page and working together. So you almost have a team behind you. So I'm super excited to be here. I really, really appreciate the invitation, Kyan, and the kind introduction. I enjoyed our conversation too.
With pleasure.
So I'm happy. I'm excited to learn more about everybody else.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Jacob. I appreciate that. I'm going to move on with Sishman. Now, You can probably get a feeling for what Sishman's like just by looking at the shirt he's wearing today. Sishman is some character. He is a man of God. He is an incredible guy. I was introduced to Sishman by a fellow co-host on the Let's Talk Business podcast not that long ago. Our first meeting was scheduled to be half an hour. Sishman, did we keep to that half an hour?
Not at all.
No, not at all. I would have it down to the fact that it wasn't me doing all the talking for once, Greg. Okay, wasn't me. It could have been, but it was a fabulous meeting. We just got each other. We understood where each other was coming from. We understood each other's journey in life, not just in business.
Right.
And just being a man of faith, hearing what Sishman's gone through in his life, he has an incredible and inspiring life story. It is absolutely phenomenal. He leads a business called SMR Security, which has an amazing potential and has already seen some exponential growth over the last few years. He's also an author and a keynote speaker, and it's just an absolute privilege to have him join us this morning within his busy schedule to just give us some of his time. So Sishman, thank you for joining us. Hopefully that was an appropriate introduction, and I'll hand it over to you.
You're too kind. I was wondering who you were talking about, but thank you. Thank you.
You can pay me later.
Kyan, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the brotherhood. I appreciate being on this platform with all of you this morning. And I mean, man, the reason that I said yes, because one of my favorite books is called It's the Who, Not the How, right? And I am definitely a promoter of collaborations and networking. We can do none of this by ourselves, right? And I believe God brings people into your life for reasons that you may not understand, but to help you grow. And so I'm excited about this, guys. Humble beginnings, don't have to go through my whole story, but humble beginnings, stereotypical of someone who's grown up in the ghettos and that type of life, surrounded by drugs and gangs and all of that type of stuff. I tell people all the time when I start a keynote, I'm not supposed to be here, right? And what I mean by that is statistically, I really am not supposed to be sitting in the seat where I am today. A father, my wife and I, a blended family. We're parents of 10 children, and 4 of them are in college now. So maybe some keynotes, guys. So 4 of them are in college now. Oldest is 23. My youngest is 3. And right, Greg, I know. And in that 10, we have triplets, twins, and the rest of them are singles. So talk about all of that in my book, guys. It's been a God journey. That's why I titled my book Defining Moments, because there have been moments in my life that people would cry about, or they would think that it was horrible. But in hindsight, those moments created the man that is sitting here today. And it's Romans 8:28 at work in my life. All things have literally worked together for good in my life, right? And so happy to be on this platform with you all. I can't wait to get started and to hear the wisdom that I know is going to come forth on this morning. So again, thank you. Pleasure to meet you all.
Superb. Thank you so much, Sishman. Now, last and by no means least, Cody. Now, Cody is an incredible individual. He's got a massive heart for people, and he has a passion and a genuine care for community. He's also a man of faith. And when him and I caught up for a conversation, it was just an absolute blast. And I meet with an awful lot of people, and there's people on this call today. All of you really impacted my life, and Cody is one of those where it was just an incredible conversation. Cody lived and he worked in Houston for many years, so just down the road from you, I think, Regina, and he was a very successful banker. Then a life change has brought him to this incredible city of San Antonio, and a whole new adventure for him, which has included establishing his own insurance agency. Cody, he's got a reputation as being an exceptional leader, and we're just very thankful to have him here in San Antonio. He's going to be a blessing to this city, I'm sure, and bring with him his considerable experience and leadership. So, Cody, welcome to the show, and we're looking forward to just giving us a little bit of your backstory as well, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Kyan. And both ways, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. When we sat down, I think we had an hour scheduled, and I looked down at my watch and our hour had passed and we were just starting. So thoroughly enjoyed it. I want to apologize to each of you for the shenanigans this morning that came with, as Kyan says, I live in the middle of nowhere, which isn't far from the truth. But my quick story is after high school in Bay City, Texas, I moved on to Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, to a small town where I met my wife. After knowing her for a couple of years and proposing, she agreed to marry me with the caveat that we must live in Houston. So I was from a small town, went to school in a small town, with the caveat that I needed to go live in the big city, which we did. And I built, as Kyan said, a successful career in banking. I started in college as a teller and just kind of worked my way through the ranks. My last stop in banking was the director of finance for a large publicly traded company. Much like Greg, after spending a couple of years there, working in collaboration and fixing a lot of operational issues, I found myself on the tail end of a reduction in force. It was the sixth one that had taken place over the course of 2 years. And like many of you, I had that decision to make in terms of what's next for me. Is it to go back in the corporate world and continue to build upon someone else's dreams, or to act upon my own and do what I had done for so many other companies, and building a foundation and a sales platform and an operational platform, and to have the opportunity to do that for myself. I found myself in a unique opportunity. My family home that my dad was raised in, which is just south of Pleasanton, Texas, so a little bit south of San Antonio, was mine for the taking. So my wife and I at the same time took on the adventure of repairing a home that was built in the middle of the nowhere in the 1960s. So we're in the process of restoring that home while building this adventure. She is a school teacher, and we have 3 daughters. One is at Texas State, my oldest. We have one that is in 8th grade and active in every sport you can imagine and keeps me on my toes. And our youngest is 7. As Kyan said, a man of faith, working at the same time with family in rebuilding the community in the family church that was established by my great-grandparents back in the 1920s, and kind of rebuilding a congregation there. So a lot of adventures taking place at the same time, and all of which have collaboration involved with different people to help grow and build them. And thankful to be here and get to know each of you as well.
Awesome.
I have to make a comment, Cody. I was widowed back in 2014, and I remarried in 2016. And my husband currently was living in Houston when we met. And one of the things I said is, please don't make me move to Houston. And a few years later, found myself here in the Houston area. So, anyway, I just had to chuckle while you were saying.
I love that.
Oh, my goodness. I want to take, first of all, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Kyan, for bringing this amazing group of men. I was thinking about this show. I don't think I've had another show that was all men. Maybe once before, once or twice, but I think not. And so I was thinking about this yesterday and thinking, I wonder how this show's going to go. This is going to be fun. This is going to be interesting.
Oh, yes.
I want to take a little different direction, if you're all okay with this, though. And that is because you are all men of faith. And so I want to ask you, as a starting question, how do you collaborate with, whether you prefer to call him Heavenly Father or God, how do you collaborate with your Heavenly Father in order to serve your clients and your community? I've never asked that question of a group before, gentlemen, so this will be fun. This will be interesting.
Well, this is a fascinating one, if I don't mind me just...
Dive in, Kyan.
Just kicking off here. So for me, I'd lived a life where I thought I was a Christian for many, many years. And it was only after I separated from my first wife that I really came to faith. There was a defining moment. I can take you to the spot where it happened in England, but that would be an expensive trip. But from that moment, I knew that God was at work in me and changing how I perceive certain things. I'd learned collaboration the hard way in business, but a collaboration with God was a whole new kind of concept. And I remember coming over to San Antonio back in 2021 to Cornerstone for the Come Alive conference. And I came over because I wanted to hear David and Jason Benham speak. They're amazing Christian entrepreneurs based up in North Carolina. And I've been reading their books beforehand, and in the books and then hearing them speak, it was talking about being a shining light in the marketplace, that we needed men to stand up and to declare their faith and live out their business that was God honoring. And for me, it was reading those books and hearing them and meeting them. And David Benham's been very good to keep in contact and just to live it out. And so that's what happened for me and why I'm driven in business the way I am. And maybe it rubs some people up the wrong way, but I'm not too concerned because he's who I serve.
Yeah, exactly. So gentlemen, feel free to unmute yourself and contribute to the conversation. Jacob, I saw you unmute there.
Yeah, I think for me, it just comes, I just think about being a person that somebody knows that they can trust, that they're always acting in their best interest. They have their best interests in mind. They're not trying to overly sell them anything or put them in something that they don't need. It's just overall, the golden rule type of thing, right? Doing what you would, want someone to do to you. Yes. And being someone that people can trust to come with complicated questions, whether it's, finance or just life, and being able to give them good advice, good, solid advice that helps them. And it's not all about yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Jacob,
makes total sense.
I'll add on to that. I try to run the exact same way, right? Never to be salesy, but to provide options, to explain clients, to bring relationship back to it, and to live by example. And I think also part of the reason for even going down this route was in corporate America, you can find yourself pulled in directions that you don't necessarily believe in or want to be pulled in. And this was an opportunity not to have to do that, not to have to sacrifice your own thoughts, your own belief, or to do something that you don't necessarily agree with, but to do things the way you would prefer to do them. And while that may sound arrogant, I think any of us that have worked in corporate for any amount of time can think of experiences we had where we were asked to do things while they may not be morally wrong, they may just not have been the way we would have done them or chose to move forward.
Yeah, might not be in alignment.
I think for me, as I was deciding whether or not I wanted to start a small business, one of the things that I kept angling towards was I may have an opportunity to give another individual an opportunity to make their lives better. I mean, I've been blessed many times over, God's taken care of me and helped me through so many different things. One of the biggest mistakes I make normally is I got this, and I stop listening, because my relationship with God has always been very conversational. I've always seen it as I don't want to call, a collaborative effort, but I see him as somebody who has my best interests in mind. And it's when I deviate from that and think I know better, it's generally when I get myself into the most trouble. And so over time, I felt this calling as I was starting this, it's not just about me. Yes, it's about, growing a business, but I saw it as an opportunity to, if I give somebody an opportunity to start a career, have a good job, maybe I'm getting out of a situation that they just don't like, and I can be that vehicle. That's who God wanted me to be. And that's where he wanted me to be and who he wanted me to impact. As far as with the clients go, I'll echo what Jacob and Cody said. I try to walk into every situation where I'm presented with an opportunity to be in front of a client. I want to be a consultant. I want to find out what they want, what's going to make them happy. We're doing things to their home. What is it that how can I help you make this the home that you want it to be? It's not what I want to do for you. It's what can I do for you to make this the place that you want it to be for you and your family.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sishman?
Yes, ma'am. This journey for me has been so beautiful because I'm still learning, Regina.
Aren't we all?
I wish I could say, God sent me here. But this has been such a lesson in humility. And, you know, for so long I ministered, preached all over as a young minister, you know, and I would lead with my mouth and work service. But in this season of my life, God is having me to lead with my character. He's having me to lead by the small things, Regina, that nobody else knows about but him, right? It's not on the forefront. You know, 100 employees, Sishman, can you give this employee grace for the wrong that he's done? Can you use this as a teachable moment? Sishman, this young man who came in here with his pants sagging, asking for a job, can you give him another chance and tell him to come back the right way? Can you? It's like, can you show my characteristics, not just talk about it, but can you lead with my character? Sishman, nobody knows the numbers. You can put a little numbers, you can fix the numbers here, but are you gonna run your business with integrity? And so this is the collaboration that I find myself in with him. More so, can you align with my will? Can you align with the godly characteristics that are revealed in Scripture? And can you do business? Nobody else is going to applaud you, Regina. Nobody's going to pat you on the back, Ken, and say good job, because they don't know. But
Just you and him.
Are you willing to please me when you aren't going to get any credit for it? Nobody's going to know you're doing it.
Yeah.
They're going to know that this is the season, and I'm pretty sure they could all, you know, testify to this as well. You know, it's a growth even in my relationship with God. It's easy to go minister to the homeless man on the street, and everybody sees you and they're blowing their horn because you're doing a good job, you know, and they're applauding you because you're doing a good thing.
Yeah.
But can you do it, Regina, when nobody else knows that you're watching? And that's what I think us, you know, entrepreneurs can speak to, especially those that are Christians. It's about having integrity, you know, doing the right thing when nobody is going to see you do it, right?
Right.
You know that you're pleasing your Heavenly Father, right?
Yeah.
Collaboration, at least for me, and what I heard from these gentlemen, that I find myself more involved in with him.
Right. Take the ego out of it, right? No ego.
Yes.
Yeah. No ego.
Which is hard for me,
You know,
because I got a lot of it.
well, and you know, the cool part about it is as I was starting out with this, you know, as things got, you know, everybody knows the first year you're starting any endeavor like this is hard. I mean, it's just hard. And I've seen a lot of you know, franchisees fail, and I just always felt like that I just left it to God on what my path was. And I always asked for courage and strength every day, especially when it was hardest. I said, you got me on this road for a reason. Just give me the courage and the strength to stay on it. And you're going to show me what's next. And I was vulnerable enough to say, and if failure is the plan because there's something I need to gain from it, I'm not afraid of that, but I'm not going to quit trying. And, you know, I'm still here. The business is still here.
Right.
I make mistakes every day. I've made some mistakes that I'm, you know, correcting now, but he keeps putting people in my path. And a little shout out to you, Kyan. I consider you one of those people. Keeps putting people in my path who keep reassuring me and believing in me, and somehow can lift me up and say, keep going.
Yeah.
But I was open to it all along. I was like, if it's going to be failure and that's the path I need to be on, I trust you. And because there's something for me to learn in that. And I think that's been something that has been somewhat very settling for me. Is you know, knowing that, you know, if I was true to the faith that I have, if failure is what became of this, there was a reason for it, and I had to accept it and learn from it. And so it's actually been something that I can lean on when I think things are not going well, that I'm on a path, be faithful, God has a plan. Now get off your pity potty and go get to work.
I like that. You mentioned a word in there that got me about vulnerability, and I wonder if others see this in the same way. I see a relationship between vulnerability and collaboration, because actually, to be highly effective, I think maybe within collaboration, is there a role of vulnerability?
Definitely.
Well, who's ever heard the phrase, and it's one I actually especially in this endeavor, because I had only, I hadn't painted much in my life, and now I own a painting company, is, if you're always the smartest person in the room, you need to find another room. And
Absolutely.
man, I keep surrounding myself with people who are much smarter than I am. And I have to be vulnerable enough. Look, I was used to being a dog, lead dog. I'm used to being the boss. Here, I'm the owner, but I'm learning as I go from everybody around me, and then trying to base my decisions on that. And my view is, you better be vulnerable, and you better be wise enough to understand that, I need to learn a whole lot, and I need to learn in a hurry. So start listening. So I think that has a lot to do with vulnerability, and then you're able to collaborate and learn something from each interaction that you have.
Absolutely. And I think if I could add something here, and I think it'll just contribute more, but I think that when we have those big failures, so like I had a 12.5-year staffing firm that failed in the financial crash of 2008. Those big failures draw you nearer to the Lord and prepares the path for you to serve at a higher level in your next venture. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I heard someone say one time, I failed my way to the top.
Yeah.
Right. And,
okay, let's all mute. And then, and then go ahead, Sishman. Let's see if that was on yours or if it was coming from somewhere else.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. I was like, oh God, maybe you don't want me to say that. Okay. I lost my train of thought. Okay, yes. So failing my way to the top. I know personally, it is the failures, Regina, that have made me vulnerable.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because this is my baby. SMR was started in a 2-bedroom apartment with 9 children at my dining room table, right? And my wife and I gave birth to this business, and with the little money that we had, and God brought the increase. And so I did get a little bit, this is mine. I told you one time, I had a briefcase with nothing in it, right? I was just the man now, right? This is my business, and
I love it.
I love when you shared that with me, Sishma. Just seeing you walking into a meeting with this empty briefcase because you just want to look the part. That's awesome.
Absolutely love it.
It takes. This is when I realized I failed, Regina, at how I had been handling what God given me. Right. I walked into, and I'm not going to elongate the story, but a gentleman I knew that I hired, and I told Kyan this story. A gentleman I knew that I hired when I first got the business, was doing well. He had been working with us for a couple of months. He was an older gentleman, man of God. We related on that. Came to the office a few months after we hired him. Came into the office, guys. He was frail. He had lost about 60 pounds. Couldn't even wear the uniform. I mean, Greg, you guys, he looked sick, and it humbled me. And we were sitting there, and he asked me, could he talk to me? Came into my office. He closed the door. And the gentleman said this to me. He said, Sishman, they tell me I have this cancer in my pancreas, and it looks like I'm not going to be able to work for you anymore. But I just want to thank you, boss, for giving me a job and all of this. And I was lost for words. I didn't know what to say. I had forgot what to say until he asked me. He said, I just came by this morning, Sishman, my family's not here. I don't have anybody here but you guys. And he said, I wonder, would you pray with me? Mm-hmm. Regina, that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Because I had forgotten why he put me in. It wasn't for myself. It wasn't for me.
It wasn't for you.
Wear fly shirts and carry empty briefcases and look like I'm, because I'm the man. No, Sishman, I put you here because I'm going to bring people across your path, and you're going to help in tune with me enough to know what the assignment is, right? Just like Kyan coming into my life, right? I'm not going to equate him to Jethro because Jethro wasn't a believer, but he was Moses' father-in-law, right? And Jethro came to Moses and said, look, dude, you're going to kill yourself if you don't separate these people into tribes. You can't manage all of them yourself. You have got to separate them, right? And so Moses had to be vulnerable and humble himself. And here you have now the 12 tribes of Israel, right?
Yeah.
You have leaders set in the, so I think that is so huge what you just mentioned, Regina. We can't be afraid of failure.
Right.
Failure is not to hurt you, but it's to teach you.
Part of the process.
It's a part of the process. It's a part of the process.
It's a part of the process.
Yes, ma'am.
If we learn from it, if we take it for what it's supposed to do for us.
And I was always told a long time ago that failure is only a failure if you refuse to learn from it.
Yeah.
And that's something that resonated with me. I heard that, somewhere along the way in college, and that had stuck with me for a long time too.
Yeah.
Jacob, Cody, have you had instances where you've had to be vulnerable to get to a point where you've got collaboration going in yourselves within your work and how you're getting things done, and was it effective? Was there problems with doing that?
Yeah, Jacob, I'll jump in if you don't mind. I think this was a lesson for me that really became impactful when I was running operations, financial operations, is understanding the impact across multiple lines of the business and understanding how everything worked together. And there was a lot of learning that went on for me. And one of the things I quickly found when I went into the organization I was with is there wasn't communication. The different departments, they were working in silos. They weren't working well. Frankly, they weren't working at all together. So there were struggles in terms of how the complete path worked together. And I recognized really early on when I took on that role that I needed to learn enough to be dangerous in every part of the business, and to really lean on the leaders in those other parts of the business to understand what they were doing and to collaborate on how we could build one streamlined process that worked all the way through. And that was a lesson for me that I've tried to carry with me in terms of building my agency and how I work with partners. My agency has grown over the last 7 months pretty substantially in the market, and it's all been through collaboration. I made a decision early on. I can sit on the phone and cold call all day, or I can go out and meet with mortgage loan originators. I can meet with financial planners. I can meet with other people who could help drive my business. And that is how my business has grown. I'm not proud of it. I don't want to sit and make cold calls all day, but I haven't really made any as of yet. I'm sure though a time will come where I'll be pushed to sit and make cold calls, but I haven't had to as of yet. And it's from those collaborative efforts. And I think we have to take those lessons we learn. I think Greg said it well, those lessons we learn at each piece. Ultimately at the end of the day, I was laid off, so I failed at that role, but all of the learnings I learned throughout that journey are impacting the decisions I make as a business owner and how I grow my business. And I think that's the important pieces that we take away.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, Cody.
Yeah, I completely agree. From my perspective, I think it's super important. And almost, I think Regina said it earlier, kind of like fighting that ego part of it, to be willing to collaborate. Because I can look back early in my career, I experienced some success early, and then, it's like, oh, I'm the man. I can do this by myself. I know everything. Meanwhile, I'm working with my dad, who has 30 plus years of experience in the industry. Why would I not collaborate with him? And why would my clients not see it as a huge benefit to be collaborating with somebody with so much more experience? It doesn't make me look bad. It makes me look maybe a little bit vulnerable, but I'm trying to improve and learn. And I think, it's a part of the way I run my business is, sometimes if I have a client meeting, I will just have like an attorney or a CPA just run half the meeting for me, right? They're the subject matter expert. The client knows that I'm not an attorney or a CPA. So I have somebody here that's their sole purpose.
Yeah.
And if anything, I think it makes me look better because I know that I'm not going to be doing this for them. I'm going to have somebody that's on a very high level do it in collaboration with the whole big picture. Mm-hmm. So I think, having that vulnerability and being willing to do that makes you look stronger as a business owner.
It's really interesting. I resonate with some of what you say there, Jacob, because back in my 20s and early 30s, I was a hotshot accountant. I was living out in the Channel Islands off the coast of France, and finance industry, very high powered job. So I was in very good positions. And I had a huge ego. I thought I was the guy. And I remember I was working in one place. I was running the finance. I was looking after various departments, and it was a group of companies. And I remember coming back from a holiday, vacation, as you guys like to call it, and having to sit down with the MD and the COO who go, Kyan, we've heard some comments about you whilst you've been away. Your team aren't very happy. You're not supporting them. You're out on your own. Basically, you've got an ego. And the MD was basically pushing for me to resign. And I remember sitting in that moment going, ouch. Very emotional. At that time, with my first wife, I had three very young children, and concept of losing my job, that wasn't a good position to be in. Now I remember the COO, wonderful person, Sharon McMillan, and I've shared on some other podcasts recently about how she basically was a mentor for me, and she took me from that place there of utter vulnerability and encouraged me and enabled me to step into an environment of collaboration. And I realized the sheer power of collaboration. When you sit in a room and you surround yourself with people who know their areas of business, they know their industry inside out, and I could just sit there and go, or I could put out a question and go, okay, what's the solution here? And these people then working together for good to get through to the next stage. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. So for me now, collaboration is about, actually, if I don't get anything out of it, I'm not terribly bothered. My wife is probably more bothered because well, are you going to earn some income here? But I love sitting down and collaborating with people, because if I can help and bless others and they rise or their business goes off, or I've introduced them to someone else who will then be a great collaborative partner for them, then I see that as a massive win, but it came from being really vulnerable. It came from a very, very painful position,
Yep.
Humbling, right?
Oh, massively. Yeah, I've had a few of those humbling
and
moments. And Sisham says I need to write a book, so maybe one day I'll do that.
Yeah. And for most of us, I think we have to go through those humbling experiences in order to let go of the ego, because the world operates from ego, right? But that's not the way the Lord operates.
Here's the even worse than that. You could possibly lose your business.
Definitely.
If you don't get the right collaboration. I'm talking about, the issue that I've had. I don't mind being a little vulnerable. The issues that I run into, which Kyan is going to help us with. We haven't scaled. I've outgrown my capacity.
Right.
I grew too fast. Right. And so now I've got to scale back.
Right.
Kyan is going to come along and partner with us and help us out. Right. And so, but what if I was like, you know what? No, I don't need I'm going to do it myself. I don't have any type of financial, I'm good at what I'm good at, which is operations. I'll do it myself. Right. And then here I am, the vision that God has given me, I've allowed to die because of my pride and my unwillingness to bring in the right people to help collaborate and take me to the next level. Right.
And your company implodes.
Come on.
Instead of exploding, it implodes.
Yeah.
No, I suppose a question there is, why do so many business owners and leaders struggle with collaboration? Is it purely ego, or is there other factors to it as well?
I think it is. I think it's ego, but I also think it's something other than ego. It's how you are perceived. Because if you're perceived as, I need help, too many people in this world, especially men, see that as a weakness.
Right.
And in reality, I mean, I'm going to bring this back to a relationship with God. Jesus, one of my favorite things I heard was, Jesus didn't, he didn't help the healthy. He didn't help the ones that were good. He helped the ones that were hurting, downtrodden, struggling, sinners, this, that, and the other. But you have to be willing to ask for that relationship and that help. Well, us in business, if you see that as a weakness and you don't ask for help, then it keeps you from obtaining the things that you need in order to succeed, because some guys are just, they see that as a weakness, that I need help. And instead of, well, I can do it, and that I'm going to be the strong leader and I'm going to power through this. Well, if you're beating your head against a wall and that's the direction you are, and you keep beating your head against that wall, you're never going to get anywhere.
So what advice would you give to the business owner who maybe it's not sharing in faith, Greg? Yeah. And he's at a point where he really needs help. He needs people around him that will help him in his business. What advice would you give? And maybe there's others of you here will go, do you know what? I've got the perfect answer for this, because this is something that I've experienced.
And gentlemen, we will make this our wrap-up call, a wrap-up question, and then we'll move into our wrap-up round. Okay.
Oh gosh, come
on!
Don't be
almost out of time.
I would honestly, without trying to sound like a smart aleck, I would just be able to look at somebody and say, "Do you know the definition of insanity?" Because in the end,
I can imagine you doing that though, Greg.
No, in the end, that's what it is.
That is.
Well, if what you're doing isn't working and you're not willing to ask for help, what do you think the outcome's going to be?
Right.
And we have to be able to receive, right?
Yeah.
There's an element of being able to receive. Go ahead, Cody. Was it Cody?
I was going to say Greg hit the nail on the head. I think the answer is, what's the plan? What are you going to do differently? What you've done thus far clearly has put you in this position.
Yeah.
What's next? What's different?
So honesty, just being honest with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sishman, Jacob, would you add anything different to that?
Real quick, I was just going to remind them that, there's risks in everything. I think a lot of people are fearful, because I have to plant a seed and I have to trust that the fruit I need is going to come out of the ground. I have to trust, Ken, that what you're saying, you're going to do. And I have to invest in myself, in you, it's fearful sometimes. And so I think what Ken did, he sat down with me for 30 minutes that turned into 2.5 hours. He calmed every fear that I had just by getting to know him. I think the relationship component is huge.
Yes, it is.
Especially in the business that you gentlemen are in. You have to make me feel comfortable because I'm scared, right? Yeah. And I'm fearful. And so, and that's just real, guys. Well, you're not supposed to be fearful. Remember, God, I'm fearful. Right? And so that would be my answer to some way, somehow, Ken, help them release the fear that's there in investing in themselves.
I love that, Sishman. That is superb. Jacob.
Yeah, I think the willingness to ask and accept help is what's going to separate maybe a business that fails and succeeds, but also a successful business owner that really wants to get to like the next level. I can't really think of a business where it's just like one person that's doing literally everything. That is like, even if they're doing that, they're just overworked and overwhelmed. You really have to collaborate and kind of offload a lot of the administrative and all the behind the scenes stuff to others and be willing to trust them that they're going to do a good job to really experience that business growth. So yeah, as a business owner, I think that's one of the most important things that you can do is be willing to listen and accept help and bring in other people that are experts at other things that you're not good at.
I mean, it's interesting that I know you want to wrap it up, Regina, but
you're good. Go ahead.
Your cope, it's all right. One of the areas I think that from what I've experienced since I've been here, and it's only been a few months, it was only since July last year, full time, is a lot of business owners are great at selling what they do. They know that inside out, but a lot of the back office, whether that's HR, finance, technology, etc., is just outside of their wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. And so they keep on going, doing what they know best and ignoring the other element. And I was really reminded of that yesterday. I got talking to a guy from Austin he's in capital lending, and he's trying to help a business that's distressed. And the business owner's eyes have just been closed for the last few years. And his business performance is going down, 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 down. That business is now on the brink of bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. And it's extremely difficult to get it back out of that position onto a new trajectory because the business owner was just ignoring it. It was like, I think I quoted this in meetings with you recently, Regina, the ostrich syndrome. Head is in the sand. La, 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 la. It's not happening to me. Well, wake up, smell the coffee. It is happening to you.
It is.
And so actually, I'm really pleased that here from the Capital Guy, he took Greg's approach. He was honest with him. Just said, this is what you need to do. Now, what I'm hoping is that the business owner now takes Sishman's and Jacob's and Cody's kind of advice of going, well, now just admit that you need help, but I'm seeing it so much, amazing.
Awesome. Gentlemen, this has been a great conversation. I wish we could keep going, but we are out of time. I appreciate each of you and what you've brought to this discussion. And like I said, I've never asked that question before, but this group, that seemed like it was the perfect question. So Kyan, would you run our wrap-up round for us? Would you call on everyone for their final thoughts on collaboration and their contact information? And while you do that, I'll put their contact information into the public chat. And Cody, I do need you to put your contact information into the private chat for me, if you will, while we're doing this, okay?
Okay, gentlemen, as a takeaway for anybody who's listening to this, a takeaway or a call to action, what would you advise a business owner to do in terms of collaboration? So just a one-liner, and then maybe just give us your contact details that you can just share so that people can reach you and you can bless them.
Real quick, I'd like to get out of the way. Kyan, I would say to remember, it's the who, not the how. Remember that. And that's a great book, actually. So look it up. It's the who, not the how. I always promote that book. So
is that affiliate marketing there, Sishman?
It's not things at all. But it changed my life in how I know I needed people after reading that book. I couldn't do everything myself. My contact information, guys, you can look me up on my name on Facebook, and on Facebook, all of my my LinkedIn, my IG, all of that is on my Facebook profile, Sishman M. Rimson, and my website is iamsishman.com. So you can look me up on all of those platforms.
Awesome, superb. Thank you, Sishman.
Thank you for having me. Absolute
pleasure. Who'd like to go next? Jacob, go for it.
I would say that collaboration is one of the many keys to success. And if anything, it makes your life easier as a business owner. So definitely should be doing it. And my contact information, I put it in the chat, but I'm not a big social media guy. I'm on LinkedIn, Jacob A. Warren, Financial Planning HQ. I also put my Calendly link if anyone wants to book a consultation.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Cody.
Yep. I would just use the one-liner of remember, alone you go fast, together you go far. I truly believe that the more people you have around you with skills and talents that you don't have, the further you'll go in life in general, not just in business. Contact information, again, you can find me on LinkedIn like so many others, Cody Huggins on LinkedIn, and email cody.huggins@comparioninsurance.com. Thanks so much for having me today. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Cody. Go on then, Greg. Give us a pearl of wisdom, my friend.
You know what you know, get help on what you don't, and find the people around you that will support and strengthen the things that you don't know. And to me, that's the essence of collaboration, is surrounding you with those people that will help you with the things that you struggle at. As far as contact information, I am available LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Also, the business is also listed, SprayNet San Antonio North. I can be reached at 210-585-2237. Look forward to working and collaborating with all of you, and I really appreciate the time here today. It's been outstanding.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate it. And if I may, my one thought here is that if you're listening to this, and particularly if you're a man of faith, your greatest collaboration you're ever going to do is with God. Hear from him and allow him to lead you and guide you in what you do in business. Do not ever separate business and your walk of faith. Make sure they're combined and you're doing it in collaboration with him. My name's Kyan Frith. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can also find me on my website, www.kvimpact.com. And I really appreciate being a co-host with you today, Regina. I always love a conversation with Regina. It's always a tremendous amount of fun. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kyan. And you have been an amazing co-host, and what a wonderful group you brought here to the show today.
They're awesome guys.
They are indeed. Just a reminder to stick around, gentlemen, when we close here for just a moment. Just an awesome show. Thank you. I appreciate you all very much. And thanks to all of you who are watching and listening, and come back and join us again on Collaboration Conversations. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.